So I guess we'll.
All right, we're good.
All right, so group 2 is going to start being the supervising team. We just wanted to make sure that you guys had the chance to look over our feedback first.
Yes,
Yeah.
we did. You guys did a very nice job on the project overall.
Oh, thanks.
Thank you. Okay, so my name is Nicole Jones. I'm going to get started on giving group 1 feedback on their manual. Okay, so overall, you guys did a really great job. The purpose of the manual was very clear and descriptive. The portion that was discussed about decreasing client behavior, maybe this could be a little reworded to focus more on how trainees will be decreasing the problem behavior. During the qualifications section of section 1, the summary of the necessary skills for the primary trainer was very clear and concise. Good job on that. The leadership skills were mentioned. Hold on one second. When leadership skills are mentioned, what are the leadership skills that you had in mind? Also, if possible, would you be able to be more specific on who requires ABA services? Does the BCBA have to previously collected data to provide evidence of this? And would evidence-based literature suffice? Qualifications included levels of experience and certifications, while also including characteristic traits of a good secondary trainer. The ethics codes in this section were relevant and well connected. So good job on that also. During the client and student population, did you guys have anything to say? I wasn't sure if you wanted to jump in. No, right? Just wanted to.
I mean, it's up to you. We can, maybe it'll go better that way instead of like waiting till the end.
Okay. Sure. Yeah.
I'll pull up
That
your
works.
thing too. I
feel
totally
like I'm just-
agree on that first part that when you said, I'm trying to find it, we said that we had leadership skills mentioned, but we didn't really specify in the leadership skills. That's a really good point. We will add that because that makes a lot of sense.
Yes.
Okay,
The 5 to 21, we did that because we focused the training manual for a school setting, and that's just like the school age. So really, you could use this in any school setting, whether it's kindergarten or 12th grade. That was like our idea of that.
Okay, that makes total sense. I had a note when discussing functional communication trainings, will the staff need additional trainings on these antecedent interventions? If so, who will be providing the training and the first then schedules? Is it important to remember that these staff members may not have any prior experience of knowledge of these topics and will need further training in addition to training on the implementation of the differential reinforcement? Just stop me when
you're good. We actually decided to take that whole section out about the FTC because
okay.
In the beginning, when we first wrote it, it made sense to us to have it in there. And then as the whole thing went through, and then after reading your feedback, we were like, oh yeah, I guess that's like a whole nother training manual that would be needed. So we just removed it.
Okay. I'm happy that we could help. You stressed the importance of caregiver involvement, which is awesome. We agreed with that. Since the requirement is not necessary, how will clients achieve generalization across multiple environments? And whose role will it be to train the FCT? But since you took that, I guess we can just keep going.
For the requirement part, Susan gave us feedback on that and saying how it wasn't how making it mandatory wasn't fair for like different like families at work, and I don't know, that she just told us that making it mandatory wasn't fair. So I see where you guys are coming from though. It does make sense. But I see where she's coming from as well.
Yeah,
so.
I was just gonna say I see both sides of it.
Yeah.
Okay. That's totally fine. The setting portion, you guys did a great job. You provided the intervention that was being focused on. I can't talk. Staff description was great. Just to make sure that the first portion of the section you added in blue. I guess it wasn't in blue, maybe, because I know that she wants everything that we did in blue. Just I wasn't sure.
Okay. Yeah, I think.
Unless
Yeah, I'm not sure. I think it was
Okay.
in black. I
Okay.
don't know. We'll have to
No
look. I'll
worries.
look into that
Okay,
though.
no,
Thank you.
that's okay. You're welcome. For the training objectives, you guys did a great job on them. Staff will know exactly what to expect um, of reading them. And is a year too long to ensure that competency and fidelity are being met at 80% or higher? We kind of thought maybe 6 months would be better, unless you had a reasoning behind that. But
So that
go ahead.
I came up with because, well, I'm an
Okay.
RBT and I have,
Okay.
I think 2 or 3 other people are, and I know yearly we have to do a competency assessment with our
Okay.
BCBA supervisor. So that's
Mhm.
where I got that idea from.
Yeah. Okay.
But I
And
mean, I see where you're coming from with like only once a year, but I mean, I don't know if like maybe companies just don't have the
the
funding
time
to
or
do
like
it
the
every
money,
6
yeah.
months. But it does make sense with every 6 months, but I just got the idea from the board
Okay.
once a year.
And then so section 2, your training methods were great. You did a great job defining behavior skills training in a way that is easy to understand while highlighting the importance of it. This is definitely key for the training staff. It was great that you had the reference to back up your findings, which further proves the evidence, because I know it was hard to find references. So that was great. Your codes were great in this section, and you did a great job tying them into the topic. Like we just talked about, using more recent articles, but I know it was really hard to find recent articles. And then the training acceptability in this section, you went into great detail about characteristics of people with ASD. You did a great job providing literature that supports the importance of autonomy when giving feedback, which is very important to consider to ensure feedback is accurate. You mentioned that feedback would also be collected in a group format. We just had a couple questions, I guess, on that. So what if there are different options when collaborating together? How would you agree upon a score? Do they each fill out a survey, or is it one per group? Is it important to consider that some group members may be afraid or apprehensive to speak up? I guess people, especially people that they're not familiar with.
Yeah. We did think about that. So it was a little bit of a hard decision to put the group one in there, but the reason why we did it, we have an individual one that is what's the word I'm thinking of? Anonymous. So if there's any, that's where the real data will come from. But the group one we put in there just to kind of force people to collaborate, since being in this field, there's so much collaboration. So during a training, to have that time that you like are kind of forced to work together and collaborate might be like a good learning curve for them.
Yeah.
And so it would be just one form for them all to kind of come to some sort of consensus on.
I agree with that. I think people don't like collaborating in trainings together because you don't know anyone, but then it also forces you to kind of get out of your comfort zone.
Right.
So I agree with that. When considering the PCI, you mentioned that the projector would be used in the materials. Will this be on a projector or on the computer? Or will individuals work through it individually at their own pace?
We took the project. We actually, that was a good idea that you had, that we took the projector out and just had it on the computer.
Okay.
So yeah, thanks for that.
Good. You're welcome. When considering the role play section, do you think it would take a full hour, or do you think that leaving extra time will I can't read today, where staff can get fatigue and lose momentum during the training?
So
was there a reasoning?
Yeah, our thoughts with that was since we had 3 scenarios, we figured like 15 minutes per scenario with going through it all with our group, and then like the 5 minutes of transition time. So that's where we got like the hour from.
That's fair. Yeah, I totally get that. And then you mentioned at the end, behavior skill training. However, it's not covered in the manual in the appendices. So
yeah,
what would that? Okay. Yeah. Overall, you did a great job. Okay. Moving on to section 3.
Thank you.
You're welcome. I'm happy that we could help.
Yes.
So great job providing the reader with a detailed definition of what function-based intervention is and how it should look in this field. In your first in-text citation, I feel like you could have just took out in his text. I don't know if you saw that or if you knew what I was talking about.
Yeah.
It can either be removed or reworded to according to the author.
Yep.
By doing this, it makes the statement stronger. And then the acronym EATS, that's a great term. We just felt that it may be a little confusing for the new direct care staff, since the topic and function of the training is only for escape. But it's a great acronym, and I feel like we thought that it would be good to be used like on a handout or during like additional training.
Yeah, we decided to take that out too. We wrote a lot for that section, so we're kind of on a roll, you know. But
Right.
then
Yeah. No,
going
I
back,
totally get
looking
it.
through it, yeah, it's just a
Yeah.
little too much, so we took it out.
Okay. It's a good term though. You did a great job on setting goals for the section. It's always important to know why and how to implement any procedure. We felt by knowing that it can help the trainees have the best understanding throughout the training process. However, it might be a good idea to elaborate more on these examples and show how they are escaping when engaging in these behaviors. And the last paragraph, the difference between escape behaviors and avoidance behaviors were discussed. And we felt that this may be a little confusing. So I wasn't sure your feels on that.
I agree, but one of my group members put that in, and Susan actually in our feedback was like, oh my gosh, that's amazing that you put that.
Okay.
We love it. So I do agree that it might be a little bit confusing, but because if you don't have a ton of knowledge on the subject, you're gonna be like, what?
Yeah,
but
what's the difference? Okay.
yeah, but she liked it, so
good. Okay, no biggie. And then the overview of non-contingent reinforcement. Overall, it was you did a great job in this section. Differential reinforcement was defined and examples were provided. We believe that it should look like this. The in-text citation, I don't know if you changed it. I don't know, it was like it looked, I think it's supposed to be, I could be wrong, or we could be wrong. Is it supposed to be the author et al. And then parentheses 2018? I think.
I'm terrible at APA, so you're probably
I know. I know it's hard. And then I liked how you guys included your limitations during this, because limitations are important during research. And then the last section of section 3, the choosing between differential reinforcement and non-contingent reinforcement. There's great definitions and explanations of ableism and how it is important during training. There is a paragraph. Did you see the paragraph that was highlighted in yellow?
Yes.
Like
I'm sorry. We should have gone through it a little better.
No, it's okay. I just wanted to make sure that I was like,
that was our revisions for section 3 that we.
It gets confusing. We had about 10 different documents, and we were like, we need to like combine them so we're not editing out of the wrong document. So I completely get it. In regards, hold on. In regards to this paragraph, the biological variables were mentioned. We were a little confused as to what this had to do with DRL. I don't know if you want to explain that, or if you took it out, or
we talked a lot. We talked with Susan a lot on this topic, because we didn't get a very good grade on my first go around at section 3. And so for that specific section, she explained to us that we really had to think about all the possible things that we could include. And so just because it doesn't quite connect like in the actual school setting, it's still like a part of the person. And so we should consider it when we are, thinking of DRL as an intervention for somebody in their family and any barriers that might come up. So that's why we included it.
If there's other siblings or whatever, if it was possible for.
Yeah, that definitely makes sense. And then there was a portion, I think it was like the last paragraph, citing information that I don't know if you cited it or not, but I think at the end it said it has been shown, but there was no, I guess, in-text citation. So I just wanted to make sure that you wouldn't get caught with plagiarism or.
Yes, thank you.
You're welcome. And I think Alexis is going to take over on the second section for the next part.
Thank you.
Thank you.
I'm Alexis Sinakis, and I will provide some of our feedback for section 4 and 5. So Starting with the vocabulary section, the vocabulary portion of section 4. Overall, great job providing detailed information. Detailed definitions. We felt there were like a few that could have been added in case like direct care staff weren't familiar, like all of the terms included in EATS, and then elopement, self-monitoring. It defined like what frontline workers you're talking about, and token economy. I don't know.
Yeah, it was so hard to come up with all of the possible definitions. So it's actually nice to have somebody else's, opinion on it. Thanks.
Oh, good. I'm glad. I know it is hard, like going back through the whole thing and making sure that you have necessary words.
Even with all of us looking at it, it's different because it's what we all wrote. So it's hard to.
Right.
And we've all been in the field. So it's like, well, we know what it means. So I don't know what somebody else wouldn't know what it means.
Totally. Yeah. Yep, exactly. Under client outcomes, it's within the client outcomes portion, we had some feedback regarding behaviors that you chose that are being maintained by the function of escape. So first, the behavior chosen was written as escape, but the examples kind of like defined elopement. So in this case, elopement would be the behavior that is maintaining the escape behaviors. We felt that the behavior should be changed to elopement and discussed with your group on what elopement might look like for this particular client. Like, do they run away, slide out of their chair, lay on the floor? We thought that maybe like a definition could be like any instance in which the client's bottom leaves the designated area or seat or moves more than 5 feet away without being instructed to do so.
Yeah, we struggled with elopement because because of the whole avoidance versus elopement deal. Right. But we agree we're going to change it to elopement, but we are going to make sure that it is specific to elopement due to escaping aversive tasks maintained by escape. And so we'll put some more details in there, but we just wanted to stand clear of, because like a lot of times elopement can be attention and like other things, so it's hard to like say just elopement and not connect it to DRL. So we wanted to make sure that it was of aversive tasks, and so we'll fix the wording and whatnot. But
sure, all right.
Thanks for pulling that out.
Also within the section, you mentioned that in order to decrease the frequency of this behavior, you had a quote said elopement would be to use preferred methods of teaching for the student, such as PowerPoint presentations, PSI, etc. Our thoughts on this were how could the teacher accommodate this for each student within the classroom? Like, what if the students have different preferred teaching methods? This might not be feasible in like a classroom setting.
Yeah, I'm not actually even sure what that. I'm not sure what we wrote for that.
It's a lot. I thought that both of your graphs looked great. Just some of the things we mentioned were like the trend line should be dotted, and I think one arrow needed to point a different direction. But other than that, like the graphs looked great. Same with your references; they all looked great, and basically all of them are current. And we already talked about how the few that were like a little bit older. For section 5, we felt like the knowledge acquisition test had a lot of great questions that were good for knowledge acquisition and could be used to discriminate which trainees knew the material and which did not. For the PSI, it was well organized and had clear and informative information. There's a good direction on where to start and how to make your way through it, and great examples and non-examples of the different types of reinforcement. We thought that not all of the slides had sound, and they did not start automatically. But I know it's a little bit difficult with PowerPoints. Sometimes things
like they're tricky.
Yeah. Well, I think I set it up. I don't know. I could be wrong, but I think I set it up so where you would pop on the slide and it wouldn't be sound right away. It gave you a chance to read what was on the slide, and then you hit the button again. Okay. And the little microphone would pop up. So then it would read to you. So I did it kind of on purpose, but it might have not gone through right.
No, that makes total sense. And I know sometimes I noticed even with like our projects, like some of the feedback we were giving, I think it was just like a downloading error, like spacing and stuff. The modeling portion, most of the modeling scenarios were clear and they had positive examples, and the video also provided a clear example. Some of the modeling examples needed to be clarified further, like it wasn't clear if the behavior in example 1 was elopement or off task, but we've already kind of talked about that. Also, the reinforcement for 25 minutes felt a little bit long. We thought that maybe the chicken might lose its appeal after playing with it for that long. I don't know if you had any comments.
Yeah, I can see that.
And then for some of the appendices, they needed to be linked to like that portion of section 2, just so it would be like a little bit easier to find.
Yeah, that's one thing we want to ask you guys when this is all over, if you wouldn't mind giving us a tutorial, since your section 5 was so beautifully organized.
Oh,
really good
thanks. Yeah.
We haven't linked anything yet because we're struggling. We're not really sure how. So if you don't mind.
Yeah, no.
Yeah, we can talk about it after. Yeah, sure.
Okay, thanks.
Sure.
Thank you.
Yeah, no problem. The role play section, it included appropriate instructions and expectations for staff to implement the role playing with Fidelity. The role play scenarios included clients of all different ages and skill sets. And the instructions, we thought it was great that you included the instructions for when to jump in and when to wait to provide feedback. That's awesome. And it was pretty straightforward and easy to follow. The coaching and feedback explanations were thorough and well organized. The coaching plan was also well organized and easy to follow. If a BCBA were reading this plan, they would understand what was expected, how often observations would occur, and how coaching and feedback would be delivered. One thing, how would you determine how they preferred to receive feedback? I know you mentioned that somewhere in your, like, would there be a survey or?
I think we were just leaving it up to the trainer, not so much the trainees, that they could feel comfortable in giving the feedback whichever way they most felt comfortable.
Yeah,
that's a good point though. That may be something to look into adding, because depending on how the staff feel about it, they might prefer a different way. But our initial thought was just to give that freedom to the trainer on what they feel comfortable doing. Right.
Yeah. The treatment fidelity checklist, your instructions were like great, well organized and thorough. It was I think it was suggested by Susan, like the critical components of implementing the intervention would be at like 100%. I think it was like flipped, like you had like the more organizational components at 100%, and then the critical components at 80%. Okay. We just made that comment because when we met with Susan one time, she said that the critical steps should have 100% accuracy.
Okay.
Just to make sure that the intervention's being done as it was intended.
Right.
The annotated bibliographies were great. They had, they encompassed the most important information of each article. And there was like it said like references in there. I think that just needed taken out.
I saw that. Yeah, thank you.
Yeah. And the training acceptability tools and instructions, once again, they were easy to follow. If a BCBA needed to give this to direct care staff, they would be able to score it correctly based on the detailed instructions. And you did a great job describing the purpose of this tool. One suggestion that was made by Susan would be to include statements that were worded in both positive and negative, just to make sure that the direct care staff don't think that the trainers only want positive feedback.
Smart.
But
that was about it. Overall, your project was great. You guys did a great job.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Yes, nice job. You know, it was
for all of your feedback.
Hard work. I can tell that you guys put a lot of time and effort into it.
Thank you. You as well.
You're welcome. Thanks.
Okay, so we will officially switch.
Okay.
Group 1 will now be the supervising. Let me just get my screen up. I hope that when I'm recording that that you guys are still showing up, and that my screen that I'm going to read off of now isn't showing
No,
up.
yeah, you should be fine. Yeah,
okay.
It should be okay. I just hope that the 40, like, you know how sometimes Zoom expires after 40 minutes?
I have the
oh, good.
Yeah, the
Okay.
subscription.
Sorry, I don't mean to say that in the middle of recording, but
I know, you're
it's
fine.
like
No,
anxiety.
it's something good to point
I
out
was
though,
like, oh my
because that wouldn't be
gosh.
good.
No, you're good. You're good.
Okay, good. Thank you for
Okay.
that.
She has the teacher package.
Yeah. Okay. So I'm Victoria Walsh. I will start. Just a brief summary of like all of the top few main points before we get into section 1. First of all, your project was really, really well organized. You guys did a super good job. We absolutely loved your section 5. All of your links and just the way you organized it, it turned out really well.
Thank you.
We did notice that you guys kind of went back and forth with the word patient and then sometimes client and then sometimes student. I know it's super hard when there's so many people writing in the document, but just go through and see if you can pull a few out to make it more consistent. And then I know we talked about it a little before, the autism spectrum disorder, and then sometimes you would say ASD, or you would say you would use the person first language versus the identity first language. So I know that it's super hard, especially because it's kind of new to a lot of us, but
yeah, we were grateful that you pointed that out because we were not aware.
Yeah, we were not aware of it.
So thanks.
Yeah.
Of course.
Okay, so Brittany, you want to go ahead into section 1?
All right, so my name is Brittany Schlachta, and I will be talking about trainer qualifications. So for part of this, we've seen that you guys said that the BCBAs, the primary trainer must have a BCBA, or the BCBA would have a master's degree in ABA. Our question about this would be, there's many different master's degrees that BCBAs hold, such as like special education or education with emphasis in autism or psychology. So there's many different routes that one can take to ultimately become a BCBA. So I don't know what your thoughts were on that. If it was you guys only wanted somebody that had a master's in ABA only.
No, you're totally right. I'm
No, yeah, that was a great point.
We're all here for each other.
Oops.
And then also in that section, you specified that they should have at least 1 year experience in a clinic setting. Would somebody not meet the qualifications if it was like a BCBA that had a 10-year experience from like school or community? Would they not qualify?
That's a good point too.
For that role?
Yeah, that's a good point.
But overall, I mean, you guys did a really nice job.
Thanks.
There's just a couple little minor things that just wanted to point out, see if like for some clarification.
Yeah, those are great questions. And I'm pretty sure that we changed that also because we didn't think about it.
Awesome.
All right, so the client student population section, you guys did a really good job. There's a lot of information. The only thing that we really could point out here was like the part where you talked about the interventions being carried from the clinic to the home. You made a great point about that and the generalization, but you just didn't specify exactly like how you'd be doing that. So you might want to just think about going into a little bit more detail about how exactly you want the trainer to carry them into the home.
Yeah, I added, after reading that, I added like a parent training portion and maybe like having a few sessions with like direct care staff, like in the home, assisting the parents. And
Perfect. Yeah, that's great. Your setting was great. The staff description was great. And then Brittany, you want to go into training objectives?
Training objectives. It was very well written, and your objectives were very well explained for the trainees. However, we just had a little bit of a confusion when we were looking at this portion, and then when we were looking at the schedule for like the actual training. You had in there that it would be mastered in 10 minutes for role playing, was that like 10 minutes per objective, or we're just like a little confused on how you're going to have role playing done in 10 minutes?
Yeah,
I
like
think-
was it 10 minutes for your whole role play, or was it 10 minutes per scenario? Or
I think it was 10 minutes per scenario.
Yeah, and I
Yeah,
think
right?
we made like timing changes when we made
Mhm.
our, what is it even called? I forget. Like our
Uh,
schedule.
Yeah.
Timeline.
Yeah.
or something like that, yeah.
Or a
Timeline, yeah.
timeline. Yeah. And then I think we may have just like forgotten to go back and
That's kind of what we figured, because we're like,
Yeah.
I don't think they, but I was just like, we have to, I want to just make sure it's clarified.
Thank you for
Yeah,
pointing
thanks.
it out.
Of course. I think that was it on that part. Yeah, your training objectives was like pretty much the only thing that we were a little confused about. So for section 2, that your purpose was well written. For the training methods overview section, overall the section was looked really good. There were a few obviously grammatical errors that we noticed as a group, but besides that, everything else looked really nice. The modeling section was nice, nicely done. Role playing and coaching as well. Your PSI section was also very well written. Your articles reference were current, and your PSI is explained that it was an effective learning tool. And then modeling as well, your section. I think there were. Yeah, the ethics codes, they tied in well. And then role playing. We really appreciated the article from 2021. So kudos to you
Yeah,
guys,
right.
whoever found that. We were really impressed by this section for the role playing, with all your current things that you added in there about COVID and everything. That was awesome. And then coaching and feedback. You did a nice job breaking down the differences between coaching, what it entails, and then the feedback. We really love the point that you made when you addressed how the source giving the feedback, as well as the frequency and mode of the feedback, can greatly impact the overall effectiveness. And then we just said the thing about the 5-year range for the references. But I mean, I'm pretty sure everyone struggled with that,
Yeah,
because
yeah.
there's only a certain amount of like articles that
Understandably
were,
so.
there's
Yeah.
only a certain amount of articles that were written, like we literally could not find some. They were just older, and
It's
that was it.
hard.
Nobody wrote new
Yeah.
ones. So
right.
besides that, you guys did a really, really nice job on this whole section.
Thank you.
your training acceptability section was really, really great. Super organized. We liked your 5-point Likert scale. The only thing that we have here, the description of your training acceptability tools, maybe room to consider altering your group training assessment to include some sort of, answering with other trainees, just so you can have some collaboration, since collaboration is a big part of our work. I know it's not always an easy thing to do, but just maybe adding some sort of group thing in there, just to consider.
Yeah, absolutely.
Your training timeline, as a whole, really well organized and clear. There was a few things here and there that didn't quite line up, which is super easy to do because there's so much that you're constantly changing as you're writing this. So it's totally understandable, but I would suggest going through the project and just going back over your training timeline and make sure everything's matching up. Like the 15 minutes of modeling you have written in one section, and then 10 minutes in another section. So just go through and make sure that all of those little details line up, just so there's less confusion for the trainer.
Right. Yeah, those are great suggestions, because I think we forgot.
I know. Yeah.
It's understandable. Yeah, it was
It's so
really
hard.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep.
Your section 3, your function-based interventions were really well written. I loved that you got most of that stuff from the Cooper book. So that was like an excellent choice. And using that, your overview of NCR was great. Nice job. We did notice that a lot of the articles in that specific section weren't current, but that's
Yeah,
it's also
I had the hardest time finding
understandable.
them.
Yeah, it's difficult.
Yeah, it was really hard. That section was kind of long. It was super helpful to have it all in there, so I'm not sure if there's anything I could particularly point out to get rid of, because I liked it all, but it was like really long.
Yeah.
Just a
I actually was editing some of it today, and I liked your comments about some of the wording, the jargons. So I definitely took that into consideration to change some things, because like you said, the trainees may not know what that means, some of the words mean, if they're first timers.
right.
Mhm.
I appreciate that. Thank you
Yeah.
for bringing that to my attention.
You're choosing between DR and NCR. Also really good. There was just one thing that we kind of noticed. I think you might have accidentally like switched your NCR and DR. So I think it was like page 30 of your manual. You first stated that NCR was more appropriate for a structured setting, but then on the very next page, you said that DR is preferable for a more structured setting. So I honestly just think that it was a wording mix up, but just for less confusion.
Yeah, I went in there and fixed that today. I was like,
Oops.
Yeah.
So thanks, because I wouldn't have noticed that I did that.
Yeah, nope, you're good. You're good. And that's it for section 3.
Yeah. All right. So for section 4, again, overall, you guys did a really nice job. The purpose was very clear and very detailed. For the vocab, the definitions in this section were very clear and concise. Think there was just one question we had about, we're a little confused with the definition of the whole interval recording. Due to how the definition is formatted, it seems as if it may have been talking more about monetary time sampling. You could consider changing it to specify that behavior that has to occur or not for the entire duration of the interval, or is it just at the end of the interval? So that was the only vocab.
Yeah, I guess we should probably take a
Clarification.
look. I haven't even taken a look at that yet.
That's
So
okay.
I
We
definitely will.
understand.
I fixed that today.
Oh, you did? Okay.
Yeah, it was super
Perfect.
confusing.
Thank you, Alexis.
Yeah. And then the client outcomes was very professionally written. We just had a little bit of tweaking on the operational definition. There's no mention of volume pitch for shouting. So maybe think about adding something in there
Yeah, I
for
agree
like
with
the
that.
tone of voice,
Thank you.
or so it sounds more like it's like talking versus shouting. But you had a lot of really good examples and non-examples of this. So that's really helpful for people that are learning, and so everyone takes the same data and they know what they're looking for. The references overall, the APA formatting was very well done. There was a couple indents, and the formatting to be consistent throughout the section. But that could have just been from mine. I know when you download something from, if you guys use
Yeah.
Google Docs and then you download it
Mhm.
into Word or whatever, it like sometimes it messes up that section and sometimes it doesn't. So
That's what happened with our hanging indents.
yep.
Oh my
For
goodness.
some
I
reison they
know.
all in like a middle of our thing, they all
There's like
disappeared.
a
and you
whole
guys
big.
were
I was like, what? I
"Wait a
fixed
minute,
all
I know
that
they're all hanging."
I know sometimes it gets crazy when you have to download it.
Yeah.
multiple times. Yeah, and everyone's
Yeah.
touching it, and yeah.
Uh-huh.
Yeah.
You guys did like again. You did a really nice job on this project. You should be proud of yourselves.
Oh, thank you. You guys.
Yeah.
Yeah, just a a tip for ourselves that we said yesterday is like right before we go to actually submit the final, after we download it, whoever is submitting it will go through and make sure all of that formatting is
every
safe,
single
Yeah.
page.
because
Yeah, that's smart.
you can spend an hour in Google Drive making sure all the formatting is perfect, and then as soon as you download it, it gets all screwed up.
Yep.
So just be careful.
Thanks.
Thank you.
So section 5, I know we said it 100 times, but I'm going to say it again. We loved the way your section 5 was set up.
Like no
So
joke.
really good job.
Thank you.
Your knowledge acquisition test was great. It was designed in a specific way. You could definitely tell that all the questions pertain to things that you were going to learn in the training day. So that was great. Your PSI was awesome. I really liked it. It was beautifully done. I liked all the little pictures and everything that you put on there just was like very appealing to the eye. It was a little short, I think. So if I was somebody who didn't know anything about your intervention and that was all the information I got on it, I would be like, I think a little bit lost. So I would consider just making it a little longer. Sometimes it's hard because we feel like we're repeating ourselves or reiterating things that are like almost stupid to say because we know it so well, but adding just a few more slides, kind of saying the same thing in a different way, just so you hit that audience that maybe didn't get it the first time, got it the second way you said it. Just a thought. Your Appendix C on modeling was awesome. Very understandable. Perfect job. You had modeling / video modeling in your title. Just
I
a
took
silly,
that out. Yeah.
just a silly
think-
thing, but it.
Yeah.
we
Thank you
didn't
though
see
for
anything.
bringing that to my attention. I appreciate it.
Your Appendix D on role playing was also really well written. Everything was thoroughly explained. I love all the examples that you guys gave. They were really easy to understand. That sounds pretty good. Your Appendix E on coaching, performance, and feedback. A lot of positives there too. Something to consider when doing observations of the trainees with real life clients is observing similar or standard behaviors across the board. That just, maybe levels the playing field a little bit. If you have somebody that you're observing, like a 2-year-old who throws a toy on the floor versus like a 12-year-old who is punching something, when you're observing those two very different behaviors, the person dealing with the more intense behavior might get a lower score, might need more feedback, or more, it's just a little bit harder to level that playing field. So just a suggestion of maybe thinking about doing like a standard, I'm going to observe everybody on this similar behavior or similar age group or something like that. There's no way to make it all exactly the same, but
Yeah, that makes
your treatment fidelity checklist looked really, really good. You required a 90 to pass, but you had 8 questions. So just a silly thing, but I think it makes sense. If you do like a 7 out of 8, you would get an 88. So you wouldn't actually get a 90 to pass if you got only one wrong. So if you added an additional question, it would give them a little bit more leeway.
Okay.
Appendix F, your annotated bibliography, all of your references were perfectly explained. You gave really good summaries of the articles. So that was great. There was a few little formatting issues, just like indenting throughout, but other than that, they were all really, really greatly written. Your Appendix G was your training acceptability tools. I really like the questions that you guys used. We appreciate how you incorporated all the different wordings of the questions. So I know Susan has said that before, so you guys did a really good job of incorporating that. And your Likert scale was super easy to understand and user-friendly. I think that's pretty much everything. Overall, I think you guys did seriously a really good job. I know this project was hard and long, so
Yes.
kudos.
Kudos to you guys too.
Thank you.
Do you guys have any questions for us or anything?
I don't think
you
so.
have-
Your feedback was very easy to understand, and we made a lot of those changes.
Yes.
Same
Thank
with
you
us
for
with your
that.
guys' suggestions.
You know, in the beginning of all this, I was nervous, like to go through somebody else's and to have somebody else go through ours, but
Yeah.
it was nice. It really was.
Fun.
Like all of the feedback that we received and I think that we gave was super useful.
Oh yeah.
Yes.
Absolutely.
Because we're all like on the same playing field. So,
Right.
you know.
All right, I'm gonna stop
Alright.
recording. I think I can still talk to you guys after I stop recording, so we can
Okay.
go through. If you don't mind showing us.
Yeah,
Section
absolutely.
5.